Hi there and welcome to Gaining Vision. I'm Melanie. Have you had an opportunity to subscribe to the channel yet? If not, hit subscribe and please don't forget to like and share. When you hear the word judgment, what comes to your mind? When I first hear it, I think about a court case and the judge making a judgment, whether it's guilty, not guilty, that sort of thing. But the reality is, judgment happens to all of us every single day. And unfortunately, it's by other people around us. They're judging what you look like, what you're wearing, the words that come out of your mouth. They're judging you for what you have and what you don't have. Judgment is a really crappy thing, to be honest. The reality is, we all have our opinions. We all think we know what's best or whatever. But the fact of the matter that we judge each other is just mind-boggling, because nobody is truly better than anybody else. The way I look at it is that you are who you are who have what you have, but as long as you're a good human being and do what's right, that's the most important things. And who gives anyone the power to judge us? Unfortunately, a lot of the population feels they have the right to judge each other. Think about it. Just think about one day in your life. When you are, say you go to school, the cool kids might be judging the younger kids or whatever, or you may be, somebody that's not in the in crowd. Or if you're at your job, you're being judged by managers, the bosses, just whoever's around, the coworkers, if you're doing too good or you're not doing good enough. Everybody's going to be judging you some form each day. It's gotten so bad nowadays that kids are starting to notice it, and they're starting to get a little bit upset by it because, people are starting to talk. They're saying, and already at home they get judged by their parents. Not in a negative way, but are they behaving? Are they doing what they should be doing? Are they on the right track to success? But judgment can be a good thing if it's dealt with the right way. So what I mean by that, so let's use the parent example. If the parent has hopes and dreams and ambitions and expectations of their child, they should have that conversation with them. They shouldn't just judge them from afar. They should be having these conversations, explaining why they want them to act a certain way, giving them the tools to be able to do what they're asking, and then encouraging them and going through it with them as they go along. To sit back and just judge that they're not doing this, and this is just not fair. And that's the same with any teacher. The teacher should outline expectations, tell them what's expected, encourage them along the way, and help if needed. And then at the end, give constructive criticism or feedback, evaluation, and that helps instead of judging. Because the saying, never judge a book by its cover. Well, you should never judge anyone without them knowing that there's expectations of them. So again, especially for young kids, this is important because they're just going to be kids. They're not going to try and be any different. When we get to the workforce, that's a whole other can of worms. The reality of it is that judgment happens by coworkers when they're jealous or when they feel threatened. Judgment happens by managers when it comes time to crunch the numbers and see who they can let go, who's least going to affect the bottom line, right? And then, of course, judgment comes from the higher ups, the CEOs and stuff like that, based on how the company's doing as a whole. The sad part is when judgment is all based on dollars and cents and not actually on the human capital. So what I mean by that is if you're in a serving, helping field, they're not necessarily judging on the effect you've had on those participants or those clients or those patients or whoever it is you're dealing with. They're judging on what does the dollars and cents say. If there's going to be judgment on anybody's performance, I feel strongly that it needs to be all around. So yes, dollars and cents can be brought into it. Their performance in the office, what are they doing, that sort of thing. But then talk to the clients and ask for the impact that particular individual has had on them, because that needs to be considered in judgment. Another way that I really want society to take a hard look at is the way we judge people we don't know. So, when you see the homeless person laying on the road, you don't know their story. You don't know what brought them there. So don't judge them. I've heard too many people talk about, especially downtown Toronto, when the youth are on the street and they're wearing the Nike shoes and they're wearing really good clothes for somebody that's homeless. Again, we don't know the full story. Don't judge. Would we like to see them off the street? Absolutely. We'd like to see them doing better for themselves. But we're so quick to judge, oh, this city's going to hell because we have all these people on the street, they're squeegees, they're washing the car windows, or they're laying on the ground, they're in our way. The reality is they're on hard times for whatever reason. So we can't be so quick to judge. They always say you should walk a mile in somebody's shoes before you even get an idea of what they're going through. That could be somebody homeless. It could be somebody at the top of the food chain. We don't know. We have no idea what each and every person is going through. Some families are going through divorce. Some families have lost a child. With COVID-19, it's a little bit more quiet now when it comes to judgment outside, but because nobody's outside. But now the judgment is being turned on one another in the house. So when you spend so much time with somebody, you start to pick and you start to get hard on them. Or, parents might start saying stuff to the kids. Oh, summer's almost over. You got to get back to school. You need to shape up. You need to do this. You need to do that. When you're doing that, make sure the expectations are clearly outlined. Because otherwise you're just going to seem like you're harping on them. But if you give them clear expectations and what you want them to accomplish, then you have something to evaluate them on. Otherwise, it just seems like you're just making them feel little about themselves. So judgment is a terrible thing. When judgment comes into play where it's a good thing, politics. Let's face facts. We need to judge our politicians. We need to make sure if elected officials are coming in, and we need to judge, are they doing the job or not? Because there'll be another election. But we need to start with the judgment sooner than later. So we have in Canada, Doug Ford in Ontario and Justin Trudeau in Canada for the country. We have to look at what they've done so far, where are they at, what's going to come for the next election, where have they been improving, where have they not, how have they handled COVID-19. And then of course you go down south of the border and you have Trump. Oh my goodness gracious. Judgment should have been there a long time ago for him. But either way, we need to let our voices be heard when it comes to judgment on the politicians. And that is not only by going and voting, because that's very important, of course. That's our constitutional right. But also, there's a lot of opportunities for protests or events, things like that. Have a conversation. It doesn't mean you have to go and ransack anything or do anything illegal. It just means that you have to have your voice heard. Talk to people. Form a coalition of some sort and get out there and let your thoughts be known. But make sure they're based on facts. So, are you a judgmental person? I hope not, because really, truly, it's not going to help anybody. It's going to hurt. So think about it before you talk next time, before you cast your judgment on somebody that you don't know the full story. But if you are going to use your judgment, use it for good. Use it to help. Use it to enforce our leaders in the countries and cities to do what they're supposed to. And until next time, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like and share, and I'll catch you next time. See ya!